Welcome to the Event Connection, where we explore the stories, trends, and unforgettable moments that are shaping our industry. We'll uncover the human side of events and celebrate the power of engagement and connection, all while having a little fun. This podcast is produced by PC NAMETAG.
Welcome to episode 2 of the Event Connection podcast. If you did not listen to episode 1, this is a continuation. So you don't really have to listen to episode 1 first because we're kind of just talking about the same thing. But to give you a refresher, I'm Brooke and I'm here with Megan and Meaghan. And we are talking about trends in event planning that we are taking with us into 2025 and the ones that we're leaving in 2024. So the trends are kind of all over the place. But that kind of makes it a little fun. So in episode 1, we talked about sponsored bathrooms. We talked about, why is that the one that sticks out of my head?
Panel, panel sessions, business attire.
Length of sessions, food trucks, all those different things. So we got a whole new group of trends to talk about this time. So I'm going to ask Megan and Meaghan what their opinion is. Are they in for 2025 or are they leaving it in 2024? So we are going to start out strong with the biggest topic of the last couple of years, and that is AI. So, but specifically AI powered presentations and sessions. Your opinions. We'll start with you, Meaghan, in the red.
Ooh. I think AI is getting better, which is cool. And I love that AI is kind of like your brainstorming partner. At least that's how I use it when I'm doing content marketing projects. So I like to think of it kind of as like an electric bike. Like you can use it to like get from A to B, but you kind of need to still pedal with it. So you kind of need to add your own flair with it. But I do still use it to kind of, get going on some of my projects. So I might apply that same thing to creating presentations. So maybe it's like a good way to kind of outline a presentation, kind of figure out what you want to cover. But at the end of the day, I like still having that human element to presentations. So if you miss that human element, you might lose out on the interest and attention with your attendees. So for sure. I'm going to say bring it into 2025, but make sure you add a human element to it. Make sure that it feels like it's you, it feels like your brand, and it feels like something that people can connect with.
Yeah, I agree. No one wants what do people call it? AI slop. Like the stuff that we can clearly tell is AI for sure. What's your take?
Same. Ditto.
Yeah.
Easy enough.
I think there's so many good components to it. Like we were just talking about, why don't I use it on my monthly reporting? Like how easy would that be? So I think there's ways to pull it in or like to start that idea generation. But yeah, like you have to still make it personal. You still have to touch it. You can't just present it and move on. Sure. Like that's just not the best. Plus, I feel like it's a little bit of like stealing content. I know technically it's not supposed to be, I think, but it's still just, it's not me. So I'd like to still update it.
For sure. Yeah. I like the idea of kind of having like topics that you want to talk about, but using it more as a way to help you like put it in an order that makes sense or kind of turn it into, something that's more easily consumable, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it still feels like you, because it's so obvious, I think, to everyone when AI was like the main component in creating anything really, whether it's like a comment on LinkedIn. I had the other day I posted something on LinkedIn and there was some company commented on it and it was like so obviously an AI comment. And I was like, what is the point in this? Like everyone can tell, we can see through this. But yeah, it certainly can be a great tool for fixing things.
I would also say kind of look for those little keywords that ChatGPT kind of sprinkles in the copy, because that can kind of give away your AI usage, like unlock these tips or like in the ever-evolving landscape. It's like no one talks like that. So maybe you can, see what it spits out, but switch out some of those words to make it feel more like you.
Yeah. More human for sure. We could use that. Next one's kind of a fun one, and I had to figure out how to spell this. Branded tchotchkes.
Oh,
so things that people would, give away at their exhibitor booth. you know, all that fun stuff. What's your take?
I'm going to say leave it. You know, I think as we come into the world, like focus on sustainability, more stuff is just more stuff. But it's hard because, like, I think when you get into that trade show environment, you kind of just, you like crave this stuff. So I think it's going to take some time to like retrain those attendees and to retrain yourself. But I think it's worth leaving it just for that aspect of sustainability. Like, how many straws do you need? How many tumblers do you need?
That's true. I feel like so many people are doing reusable straws now to the point that I'm like, this is going to get worse than plastic straws. Yes. There's so many of them and we don't need that many. Yep. Yeah, I think that's a great point. So much of that stuff ends up in the garbage. What about you?
I'm going to say leave it in 2024, but I think there are ways that you can still do branded giveaways, but you can be a little bit more strategic with it. So to tie in with your event sustainability focus, maybe you want to give people like a native seed packet that they can take home. Or one branded giveaway that I got, which I thought was kind of cool, was branded scrunchies. So it's like something that I use every day. Another branded giveaway that I got that I also use quite often is branded socks. So I think it's important to think about things that people will realistically use on a daily basis. Is it going to end up in the trash? Can you support local with it? Like maybe you want to give people branded pots of honey or you know, something else that comes from that specific location that you're having the venue at. So I think you can be more strategic with those giveaways and
for sure
have fun with it.
Yeah. I feel like if I get like one more beer koozie specifically.
Like, yeah, we don't need one.
Those are the biggest ones that I'm like, I do not need another one of these. But I will say though, so when I went to Inbound, I feel like there were two, I guess they're not really even like tchotchkes, but giveaways that people really gravitated towards. And I don't know either of the companies that did these, so I apologize in advance. But one company was screen printing t-shirts on site, and you could pick your design from like a group of like 10 designs, and they would actually like make it for you right there, which was very cool. And then the other one, again, I don't remember the company, but they were giving out tote bags that said the notorious BAG on it. And like everyone wanted one of those. And I do have one and I do still use it. So I think like if you come up with something really creative or unique or fun, I don't know how well they work since I don't remember the company names as like a marketing device, but I did like those. So I think, just be more creative with it if anything. Like everyone has plenty of pens and reusable straws and koozies. We don't need all those. Yeah.
So
all right. So we're leaving, generic tchotchkes in 2024. Next one, and I know Meaghan, you have some experience with this yourself, but reverse trade shows. What's your take on that?
They're not my favorite. And I think because I always struggle because I want to take samples. I want to take ideas, you know, so it's hard to pick that up, put it all in my backpack, get to where I'm going, put my notes away. You know, so it's hard for me to be a productive and contributing, it feels like, part of the conversation because I'm digging in my bag, I'm jotting my notes down on my notebook and then grabbing it all, like feeling like a cluttery disaster.
Yeah.
And then dumping it on the next person's desk. Like it never feels like I'm presenting myself in the best way in that light. So I struggle with it. I get why the attendees would like it better because they're, you know, not having to move around, but from an exhibitor standpoint or from my standpoint of like durable goods, it's just trickier.
Yeah. I feel like it kind of makes more sense with like software because then you just can have a little iPad or whatever.
Or like CVBs, hotels, like that works for them because like they can just do that slideshow, that presentation versus us. It's
people want to see and feel the event badge or whatever. Yeah. That definitely makes sense. Yeah. What about you?
I would say sales Meaghan definitely brings more experience with this since she's on the sales team, but I love connecting with people at our booth. So that's something that I have a little bit more experience with. So I really enjoy that. I would say if you do take reverse trade shows into 2025, I like the idea of having dedicated time slots for people. I went to a conference last year and it was kind of like an open house reverse trade show. So the customers and clients were sitting at their own tables, but you know, anybody could kind of come up to them on their own time. And it was just kind of awkward because some people had no people wanting to speak with them. And, you know, some of the bigger companies had long lines. So it kind of gets a little dicey with that. So I'm going to say take reverse trade shows into 2025, but maybe keep it to dedicated time slots so that you also, from a sales perspective, you can kind of look at who you're about to meet with. You can do some research on them to make sure that you are prepared to chat with them and make sure that you're giving them exactly what they need with the conversation.
Like more productive conversations. For sure. I like that idea. All right, so we're a little bit mixed, but take and leave reverse trade shows. Next one, another one that's a little bit more close to our hearts is QR codes on badges specifically.
Ooh.
I know. I feel like QR codes had their time, and then everyone was out on QR codes, and then everyone was back in on QR codes. So, yeah, what's your Meaghan in the red? What's your take?
I'm sure Sales Meaghan will have some interesting ideas for this, but I'm a big fan of QR codes on the backs of badges or even the fronts of badges. It kind of depends how you want to use it. But I like that you can get really creative with what you link to. So maybe it's event safety information. I talked with an event safety specialist recently, and he said, hey, you should have something on the backs of badges that people can scan so they instantly know where, safety machinery is or like escape routes out of the venue. So I thought that was cool. I also like being able to scan and see the event agenda or how to download the app. So I think you can get really creative with it. So I'm going to say take it into 2025.
For sure. Yeah, I agree. Especially if like you can't, maybe you have a smaller event and you can't afford like a whole app. Like if you have a web page that you set up and you can drive people to there, that's a lot easier.
Yeah. I would take it too. I think it's a definite benefit. Like you said, whether or not you're using those registration software companies, you can even still have it linked to their like LinkedIn page or maybe their Instagram page. You could still have that personal kind of networking push, even if you're not using, registration software company. Or like you said, to like the app information, the agenda. I always like having like the full agenda. So I think that's a great idea. Or whether you sell a sponsor space and it goes to the sponsor's website. There's different ways to use QR codes that I think are always a little bit underutilized. And
For sure.
I love the idea with the safety information too. That absolutely makes sense. So there's definite opportunities there. The trickier part with the QR code is just due to the size. So I think that's where we tend to see some people struggle. But I think they're absolutely worth it because it tends to have good quality information that's linked to it.
For sure. Yeah. And everyone knows how to use them nowadays. And it makes it a lot easier just to get important information.
Yep.
Awesome. I like it. We're bringing QR codes into 2025. So the next one is a little bit, I think we've both had different experiences with this, but welcome sessions for first-time attendees. So I'll have Meaghan go first because I know you had a welcome session at Content Marketing World, right? Which was kind of interesting.
That was really fun. So I talked a little bit about Content Marketing World in the previous episode, which was really cool. I was a big fan of that conference. It was a lot of fun. But one thing that they did that I thought was really cool was they had a first-time attendees welcome session. And it was really helpful to attend because I had never been to the conference before. We got tips of how to get the most out of your experience. And then one really cool thing that they did was they gave everybody a Starbucks gift card. So you can, wake up and, get your coffee and roll into the conference and have a good start to your day. So I liked that there was a little giveaway element to it so that you could take something with you and meet first-time attendees and say, hey, maybe we should sit together at lunch tomorrow, or hey, are you going to go to that session tomorrow? Oh, me too. Let's sit together. So it's a nice way to meet people even before the conference begins.
For sure. Yeah, I really like that. So you're taking...
I'm going to say let's take it into 2025.
Awesome. Yeah, I agree. My own experience with that was Inbound had it was before. So yours was on site at the first day of the...
It was actually the day before the conference began. So I was already in town and there wasn't, much going on that evening. So it was nice to be able to get that out of the way and feel prepared for the first day of the conference.
I like that it's not eating into anything else then too. So you don't have to not go to a session that you're interested in to attend that instead. Inbound had a virtual session for first-time attendees, but it even, long-time attendees, just to go over all the nitty-gritty details of the dress code and how you access the app and how you sign up for sessions and things like that, which was really helpful. But I like the idea of having an on-site session. I think that's kind of a fun idea.
Yeah, it was nice being in person because then you can physically see people in person and connect with them. And I found so many more people to connect with on LinkedIn just from that session. So that was really cool.
For sure. Yeah. What's your take?
I think take it as well, because I think it is nice to sit down and understand their format. I've been to several of them at different trade shows. I tend to see them more at like my client-facing trade shows, which is really nice because then sometimes they give you the overview as far as what different titles mean, who's on whose team. So you can go into meetings, kind of like you said, a little bit more prepared, a little bit more able to understand maybe the questions that might come or how you can best support that team. So I think it's an absolute wonderful thing. I love the idea of the virtual one before. Maybe like the virtual one is open to everyone, because sometimes, maybe you only attend that event every 2 years. So you kind of go in feeling new,
right?
Each time. So I think there's ways to do both ends of it and really make sure you're hitting everyone.
For sure. Yeah. And like different information for exhibitors and attendees too. I think that's a good point. Awesome. So we're bringing welcome sessions. The next one, kind of tying into that, events in first tier cities. So like a New York or a Las Vegas or I don't know, what have you, Los Angeles.
Okay.
Or are you taking it or leaving it?
I'm going to say leave it in 2024. I think, there's a lot of, events that happen in those big cities, like especially Las Vegas. And it kind of depends if you have a contract with that city, that makes things differently. But I think, people go there every year. They're very, comfortable with that. But might be kind of a fun idea to kind of branch out and try something new. We're based in Madison, Wisconsin, and we kind of have some, second tier cities. So Milwaukee has been really cool to have fun events in. We've got the Milwaukee Bucks here, which is kind of fun. And Madison is huge. We have some beautiful venues here. And I think it's something different that attendees, haven't experienced before. And it's a fun way to see new cities and help support some different cities than just the regular ones.
Yeah, I agree. I love that. What about you?
Leave it.
Yes.
No more Vegas. No,
I've been to Vegas
nothing
enough
against
times.
Vegas. Yeah, it's just I've had some of my favorite experiences come from those smaller cities. Indianapolis MPI was one of my absolute favorites. Like the experiences they rolled out and the opportunities they provided for us were just out of this world and things that I'll take with me forever.
Right.
And I don't feel the same when we go to Vegas because it's just kind of consistent.
Right.
So I love the idea of going somewhere new and giving people those new experiences. And I always look at it too as like a test, right? Like, is this somewhere I want to go personally?
Yeah.
So it's always kind of nice to try somewhere different and experience something different outside of those kind of standard hubs.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know if you went to this event. Maybe it was just a couple members of our leadership team, but they went to like a sports event in Pittsburgh and they like loved it. And
it wasn't me. I'm trying to think what it was. But
yeah, it was maybe it was Colleen, but
but
yeah, they loved Pittsburgh, and I like Nicole, our manager. She was like, "Oh yeah, I would totally go back to. I would never think to go visit Pittsburgh, but everyone apparently had a great time, and it was a really cool event." So, and what was it? Connect Marketplace that was in Milwaukee.
Yeah.
And I think everyone really liked it. And again, we're kind of shills for Wisconsin, but have your event in Milwaukee or Madison.
Yeah.
We'd love to have you. So, all right, cool. We're out on first year cities. I agree. I think no more Vegas. Everyone's seen it enough times. It's kind of fun in a way to like go to the same city and like know your way around, but I feel like it kind of gets boring after a while and you want to go somewhere else for sure. Chicago also I feel like is a good city. It's like in the middle, right in the middle of the country, The
other thing you never see with Vegas too, like why not Fremont Street? Why not something different?
Right.
There's so many places outside of the Strip. I mean, there's nothing worse. And I can't tell you how many times I have gotten a room in Vegas where I am next to somebody who's there for their 21st birthday.
Oh, I've experienced that as well.
It's the worst. Like I had some girl next to me one year who just turned 30 and she was sobbing at 3 a.m. because she's 30.
Oh my God.
And I was like, I have to work tomorrow. So it's got its negatives. Yeah, please be just it's okay.
Yeah.
Your back's gonna start to go, the vision's gonna go, it's coming, let it go.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's such a good point.
That's miserable.
That sounds miserable. Yeah, I don't think you're gonna get that in Milwaukee or Pittsburgh as much.
No.
Awesome. I agree. All right, cool. We're out on first year cities. We're in and smaller cities. Next one is structured conference schedules. So I mean, like, I feel like I've been at events before where like every session starts at 9 and goes to 10, and then there's a 15-minute break, and maybe there's like 3 sessions, but they all start and end at the same time. And then, you have your break, and then your next session starts, and everyone starts at the same time. So that kind of like structure are you taking that or leaving that in favor of something a little bit more flexible, maybe?
Okay, I can start on this one. I'm gonna say leave it with a little bit of an asterisk. So when I go to conferences, I like, multiple session options during the same time. So if something doesn't really pique my interest, I can go to a different session, or maybe I go to a session and I'm not really feeling it. There's another session that I can pop into. But I think in event planning, there's been a lot of conversation around attendee wellness and relaxation. So I know personally when I'm going from thing to thing to thing to thing, it can be very mentally draining. So I do like the idea of having a little bit more flexibility, that maybe people need to take a walk around the block, or they want to sit in silence and check their email, for 10 minutes before they go to another session, or review their notes that they took in the previous session. So I would say make sure that you're thinking about attendee health and wellness and giving them mental breaks between those big sessions and, big activities during the agenda.
For sure. Yeah. I like that idea. And I like the idea of kind of staggering things too, I think, because when I went to Inbound, I feel like so many people had sessions kind of ending at the same time, and then everyone would kind of conglomerate in the central trade show area, but then they would have snacks and stuff, but there were always really long lines. And like, it's just kind of nicer if there's like a more steady flow in and out of that area, rather than it being everyone's done, everyone's here, and now everyone's going back. That was kind of my personal experience. What's your take?
I would agree. I love the idea of like the flexibility, and I know especially in our industry, right? Like they really struggle with those email times. Like they still have their job to do, so you've got to get back and you've got to keep those other events going. I think it absolutely helps to just keep things a little bit more fluid. So maybe someone goes to a specific education session, they have to pop out early to crank out some emails, and they can still keep on with the trend. So I think to allow for a little bit more flexibility, I think is huge.
Yeah,
I have a question for you. How do you feel about that from an exhibitor standpoint? Do you like when there's flexible times when people can stop by the booth?
I love it. I feel like those drive some of the best connections because that person sought you out, right? So like in between, like I had to get here, I knew I had 10 minutes in this scheduled time here, so I was between sessions, whatever that is. And I think it just drives a better connection because I know that they are absolutely here for me. So it's a little bit better of a conversation.
Definitely.
Yeah, that makes sense for sure. And then I feel like if things are staggered too, it's like not everyone's showing up at once.
Yeah, you can have a more focused conversation versus 8 people in the booth and everyone's like, oh.
Yeah, and you're like panicking, like, okay, here, take this pamphlet and get going. I have stuff to do, people to talk to. Yeah, for sure. I feel like there's definitely events like that where it's like
a little chaotic,
really busy and then really slow, and then really busy and really slow.
Yeah.
Next thing, are you bringing or leaving convention centers, like as an event venue?
Oh. Okay.
You look like you're pondering, so I'll start with you.
I think it really depends on what the event is. I know with some specific conferences, if you have tons of sessions, like thousands of people, it gets kind of dicey to have smaller venues. So I personally like the traditional venue approach with larger conferences, especially if they're multi-day. But then I guess there's also the thought of, when there's really large venues, you're doing a lot of walking, people can get a little bit tired. Some venues are multiple floors, so you're going up and down escalators. So that can get kind of difficult sometimes. It's not the end of the world, but I have been to some events that have, taken place in hotels or like some more unconventional venues that you wouldn't really think of for a conference. And those are the ones that kind of stick out in my mind, especially if it's like a brand new building or hotel that you kind of want to check out. So I would say, I'm going to say bring it into 2025, but don't count out unique and interesting venues, especially if it's a smaller event.
Yeah. And some of those new like venues will have pretty good deals on, you know, renting those spaces because they're trying to get people in the door. So I think it's kind of fun to look at different options for sure.
I would say bring it. I think they offer so many unique things, but I would kind of the caveat, right? Like I would make sure that it's clearly labeled and there's great signage. Because one of the things that I struggle with from an attendee's perspective is I don't know where I'm going. Everything looks the same. I don't know what room's what. I don't know where the Atlanta room is versus, you know, like, I don't know. So like I would consider like each floor is a different color and each area is a different shape or whatever it is to help easily guide someone to a different area-ish. I think that's less intimidating because sometimes those convention centers just get really overwhelming.
Oh my gosh, yeah. At the BCEC in Boston, I can't tell you how many times I walked around like the entire thing. And then I was like, oh, I was almost in the right spot to begin with. And for some reason I did like a full loop because I just didn't know where
I did something like that recently at a previous event I was at. They had like an innovation stage and like an imagination stage.
Oh,
it was
yeah.
like really similar. So I ended up going to the wrong one and then I was late for the session. So I would say maybe like be a little bit creative with what you name things so there isn't confusion with your attendees.
Another reason to have a QR code with a map on the
there you go.
so that people know.
I'm always a fan of a map on the back of the badge. You'll use that more than the Wi-Fi information. You use the Wi-Fi information once.
That's true. Yeah, and you're set to go. That's a good point because a lot of people I feel like will put Wi-Fi info on the back of the badge, but you only use it one time. But the map I would refer to like over and over again. It's nice to have like the physical map printed on the back for sure. Yeah. I'm very bad with directions. I get lost in like our own office. When people are like, "Oh, meet me in the New York room." I'm like,
I don't know where that is.
Yeah, I have to take a lap and figure that out.
Unless it's the one I use every single day. Yeah, like, I know where the New York room is, but that's because it's on the sales floor.
Yeah, on our side is London. We know where the London.
Yeah, I don't know where that one
is. Yeah, that's so true though. By day like 4 of the conference, you might have figured it out, but then
took
you
4 days.
Yeah,
late. Yeah,
it's too late. I agree. This is the last one that I have, and if you guys have more ideas, we can certainly keep going. But the last one is attendee tiers. So tiering your attendees into like VIPs, super VIPs, whatever you call them. Yes, that. Are you taking it or leaving it? I have my own opinions on this, but I'll leave it for the end. Meaghan, what is your take?
I mean, you got to make money as a event planner, but I think you can be kind of like strategic with like the different tiers. So maybe you get like first access to things, or I know Brooke might have a little different opinion on it, but I would say instead of having tiered attendee types, I kind of like the idea of having more of like early bird specials. So maybe you can save money on your tickets by, getting registered for the event by this date, or maybe you take some specific action and you can save money on your ticket, or maybe it's buy one, get one free or something like that. So I'm more of a fan of getting creative with offers before the event to drive attendance, but I know it gets kind of dicey when it's like, oh, well, you're second tier attendee. Like, you don't get, the same things I get. So it gets a little bit dicey. So I would say, I'm going to say leave it in 2024, but challenge yourself to get a little bit more creative with like pre-conference offers.
Yeah, for sure. What's your take?
I would say leave it as well. Obviously, in some situations, it's just not possible. But like from an education perspective, I think you should open the content to everyone. Because what if someone's looking to expand themselves professionally or do something that's outside of their comfort zone? Or maybe it's just someone that is looking for a new opportunity for a new job or something, and they want to be in there meeting those executives that have this fancy VIP situation. So I think to be able to kind of just open everything to everyone offers such a unique experience as well.
Yeah, because some of those people probably don't have the budget to pay for like the VIP package.
That's true.
Yeah, I feel like it's fine to do that as long as it like improves that VIP's experience without hindering the experience of others. Because I think that's what I've kind of experienced myself in the past is I went to a conference where we were just normal attendees, whatever. And probably like 40% of people were like VIP attendees, it seemed, at least from my perspective. It seemed like it's probably less, but I was like, these people are running everywhere. But like one of the things that was very frustrating was VIPs so there was food trucks and VIPs got to skip the line to get their food. And I'm like, that it's very, again, we talked about this in the last episode, but it was like a hot day. Meaghan was there with me, and we were waiting in line for like 35, 40 minutes, and we kept seeing people just go right to the front of the line, leave with their food, making our wait longer. And I'm like, instead of doing something like that, maybe you could just have, 2 food trucks that only VIPs can access or something like that. Or they have like their own area where they can sit, like something that isn't actively making everyone else's experience worse, but you can still make someone else's experience better without everyone else seeing that. And the other thing too is at that same conference, like all the VIPs got to sign up and register for their sessions like way earlier than everyone else did. And by the time we got to register for ours, so many of the sessions that I wanted to go to were already like filled up. So kind of like what you were saying, it's like I really wanted to go see like Nancy Harhut, and her session was like booked within the first like 5 minutes, and then I didn't get to see her session, and that's a bummer. So like, or if you're going to do that, maybe have it so the sessions that book up right away, we'll do like an encore session, or maybe we'll move them into a bigger room or something. I think that kind of flexibility would be nice, because it's just a bummer when you're still paying a lot of money as an average attendee, and to not get to experience what you want to experience is kind of a bummer.
Letdown.
Yeah.
I've seen some events do like different colored lanyards for VIPs. So that kind of like visually sets you apart from people, which could be a good thing, could be not a great thing, but it kind of, in my mind, creates a little bit of division among attendees. It's like, oh, well, I paid more, so I get this. Right. Which is like cool if you want to be able to like admit people to like a specific VIP area, but maybe they get like a badge ribbon that says VIP or, something a little bit different.
Yeah. Or maybe they get like a fun, like a sweatshirt. I don't know. Like some kind of cool gift that the rest of the people don't get or something. Yeah. So that was the last one. I don't know if you guys have any other trends. We can always come back to it later. Otherwise, I was going to ask you guys, what is one thing that you're really excited about in event planning for 2025? We're still the beginning of the year. Like, is there a certain trend you're seeing that you're really excited about, excited to see where it goes, or something that you just find really invigorating? Not to put you on the spot.
Yeah. Oh, I should go first.
Whoever has an idea, you can go first if you have an idea.
I feel like people are getting more creative with event apps, which I think is kind of cool. I might have spoken about this in the last episode that we did. Make sure to check it out if you haven't listened to it yet. But one cool thing that I did at an event was in the event app, if you stopped by specific booths during, the trade show time, you would get a secret word that you can input into the app, and then you could submit that word. So by the end, you could, be on a leaderboard of who got the most words right, and maybe you like win a prize for doing that. So I thought that was like a creative way to get people involved with wanting to stop at the booths. And it's like, hey, maybe I don't need this thing right now or specifically for this event this year, but you never know what you might need in previous years or years to come for your events. So I think people are, having a lot more fun with event apps, or maybe tying in like a social media challenge. Like, hey, we have a event branded filter that you can take a picture of yourself. You can post it on LinkedIn. You can tag us, and you might get entered for a drawing, per se. So for sure. I'm excited to see how people use event apps going forward.
Yeah, for sure. If you need more time, that just kind of like triggered a thought. But I feel like I'm really excited to see what just like activations in general. Like, there's just so many creative things. And again, I'm like kind of an AI, I don't know, not a huge proponent of it, I guess. But I think there's a lot of really cool things like photo booths and stuff where you can like pick what kind of vibe you want. Like if your event is 80s themed, you can have people like take a picture of themselves at an event, and then they can like see themselves. Or I saw like someone like you can turn yourself into a hologram or something like that. Like there's very like fancy. Super unique things. Or something that was really fun at Inbound was there's like a big Inbound sign at the front where you like go get your badge, and there was like a camera in the middle of it, and the other camera led to like a secret wall on the trade show floor, so like you could see people. Like you could wave at them. It was kind of like, have you seen where they have them in like different cities? So like you're in New York City and you can see people in like Amsterdam and like wave at them and whatever. It
So
was like
weird.
that, but it was in 2 different locations of the trade show, and it was just very fun. It was a goofy thing, but I think that's the really fun part about all the technological advances and AI to an extent is just like all the fun ways that you can keep people engaged and having fun experiences.
I would
like
also
that.
say it's like if you don't want to get, like crazy with an event app, especially if you're on a budget, you can still, experiment with it if you want to have like live polling, or you can submit a word and you can have like a word cloud populate on the screen. So it's like that's an easy way to,
Cool.
Get audience participation on a budget.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah. I like the live polling idea
Yeah,
for sure.
that's cool.
That's super fun.
Well, of course, I'm going to do a shameless plug and say
Why not?
custom badges, custom shape badges. We kind of touched on it briefly yesterday a little bit. Well, that might have been prior to the podcast.
Yeah.
Too. This could be like a whole new piece. But I love the idea of how custom badges are becoming a thing as far as like the shapes, as far as putting the foils on there. One from a security standpoint that can't be recreated versus like your standard kind of everyday badge can. We did a fantastic badge for MPI, which was the shape of a whiskey barrel. Then it had the pocket on there, so it still could be printed on site. We've done them in the past where it's the shape of Minnesota. There's so many cool things, or it could be also a bag tag, so it's a nice little giveaway. There's so many cool things that you can do. And I always tell people that, think about it from the perspective that that's what goes home with the attendee. Other than their memories, like the majority of people, I would say, hang those badges on their, desk or their door. I do too. Maybe it's because we're the name tag geeks.
I did even before I worked here.
Yeah, it's those memories. But like when you see that cool shape, like you're gonna remember so much more. Like that stands out. Like people stop. I always share when we were at the event, and it was the DSA event in Disney World. We had like kind of your everyday badge, and then we had the clear badge that went over it, and that showed that not to go backwards here, but it was the VIP badge. So we paid for the night at Disney.
Yeah.
So it went over, and it was like the Epcot design, and my name showed through the Epcot.
Ooh, fancy.
That's
globe.
cool.
So it was just such a different experience. People were stopping us like, what event are you with? They were talking about it. So like think outside of the box in every
That's
way.
true.
I mean, not just the name tag, right? But just the whole event. Like, how do you make it that custom experience? How do you make sure that it really relates to that person as well as just something different?
Yeah. Oh, I agree. Like you said, it's even marketing for you because
Yeah.
people will stop you on the street and be like, that's so cool. Like, what event are you going to?
Yeah.
I want to go to that. Yeah, I think it's like guerrilla marketing kind of.
Mhm.
Like,
Yep.
That's awesome.
Not a white name tag.
Yeah.
Stuff. It's fun.
Right? No
There's
one's,
energy.
yeah. No one's going to ask someone where they went if they just have like a holder and
Yeah.
I mean, we love those too.
We love- yeah.
Do holders and
There's a place
inserts too
for
if
'em.
you want. but
That's
there's a
your
place.
budget. That's fantastic.
Yeah,
You can
for
still
sure.
make that pretty.
You can.
You can
yeah.
put some cool stuff on there.
For sure. That is very true. But yeah, I love that. I think get creative.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you for those tips. I think that can be really good stuff that people can take into this year. So yeah, that's all we have for today. So again, subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. We should be on all platforms now in theory. We still don't have an email address, but if you want us to talk about something specific, if you're interested in anything, if you want to be on an episode,
Cool.
yeah, reach out to PC NameTag on Instagram. Yeah, and we'll keep you posted. We are posting monthly right now, but we'll see what happens in the future.
Also, let us know if you agree or disagree with any of
Yeah,
our hot
that's
takes.
true.
I'm kind of curious what you all think about what we chatted
Yeah.
about today.
Yes.
That would be interesting. We should
Yeah.
do like a poll. Speaking of polls, we should
Yeah.
do a poll actually.
Yeah.
Let's
user
do it.
engagement.
Yeah.
I like it. Awesome. Well, let us know. Yeah. We'll see you next time.